Hello everyone. For those who don't know, YouTube has decided to make a new change to the website, making it so the dislike bar will no longer be viewable to the general public. This is just an all-around terrible idea that doesn't help anyone, is unhealthy for the website, and is just a form of censorship. And like most cases of censorship, it's being touted as some benevolent act while in reality, it's just a push for power. YouTube claims that they're making these changes in order to help small creators avoid targeted bullying or harassment. But this is provably false, because if you were to ask a small channel what is something their channel struggles with, it would be view count. They are struggling to get people to watch their videos because YouTube doesn't recommend it to people. How can you get dislike bombed if people don't even know you exist? It is quite difficult to get seen on YouTube. Another thing that proves the opposite of what YouTube is saying is that creators have little to no contact with YouTube. If you have any issues with a video or your channel, getting in contact with a representative is nearly impossible. Even channels that have millions of subscribers struggle with this. If you don't know someone who works at YouTube or have a friend that does, you're usually just left in the dark with your issues. But let's say we take YouTube's word and believe they're doing this to help creators. The dislike button still works, so videos will still get a ton of downvotes. The only difference is that the general public can't see it. If you're hiding the dislikes for the mental health of the creators, it doesn't matter because the creator can still see the dislikes. If YouTube is planning on making it so creators have to go out of their way to see dislikes, then that's even worse. You are shielding people from criticism and are fostering an even more echo chamber environment than YouTube already was. You're essentially asking the question, why can't everyone like my opinion? Nothing good comes from showing people nothing but positivity. Being able to show dissatisfaction and having the public be able to see it is an important part of any user's experience. Imagine if you're trying to order something from Amazon or Etsy, but only being able to see 3, 4, and 5-star reviews. You are not being given an accurate representation of the product. It is important to see the negatives so that you're able to make a more informed decision. Would you really trust any review site or an app that only shows positive reviews? And if you weren't aware, on YouTube, creators can turn off comments, delete comments, and shadow ban people. Without the dislikes being public, YouTubers will have complete control of the public's perception of them. Can they not see how this will be a problem? Scamming and clickbait will run rampant. The only thing people will see are the likes, and any comment giving a warning or criticism will just be removed or hidden. Hiding the dislikes has so many negative consequences for the user experience. In YouTube's video about the update, they mention some of the problems it will bring, but don't provide any real solutions. I'm going to play some clips from their video, then explain why it doesn't make sense or why it's a bad idea.
Hey folks, you may have seen a while back that YouTube announced it was experimenting with making dislike counts private to only the creator of the video. Apparently, groups of viewers are targeting a video's dislike button to drive up the count, turning it into something like a game with a visible scoreboard. And it's usually just because they don't like the creator or what they stand for. That's a big problem when half of YouTube's mission is to give everyone a voice.
You are unable to tell if a dislike is because someone doesn't like the content of the video or they don't like the person in the video. If someone stands for something I don't agree with and they make poor arguments, why shouldn't people be allowed to express themselves with a dislike? When groups of people start disliking a video, it's essentially a non-violent protest of their ideas. How is this in any way a problem? What is the point of a dislike if not to show dissatisfaction? And since when has any part of YouTube's mission been to give everyone a voice? Disliking a video isn't silencing a person. A video doesn't get taken down just because it gets a ton of dislikes. Their work is still completely viewable to everyone. If half of your mission is to give everyone a voice, then allowing people to post their content accomplishes that goal. Nothing else needs to be done. But by privating the dislikes, you're pretty much silencing part of the audience.
It turns out that while viewers might use the dislike count to give them a sense of a video's worth, when the teams looked at the data across millions of viewers and videos in the experiment, they didn't see a noticeable difference in viewership, regardless of whether they could see the dislike count or not. In other words, it didn't really matter if a video had a lot of dislikes or not, they still watched.
So you're confirming that the dislikes don't actually hurt the channel. And if the channel isn't being hurt, and the viewership is the same, and the content is still available to watch, why are we hiding the dislikes?
But overall, it's much less likely to cause stress and embarrassment if the count isn't visible to the public.
And there we go. The actual reason they want to hide the dislike bar. They aren't making these changes to protect small creators. They're doing it to protect big companies and brands from feeling embarrassed when they release something that gets downvoted into oblivion. Mass downvoting only really occurs to large channels, because they already have large amounts of eyes on them. So if they say something dumb or do something the public doesn't like, it gets noticed by a ton of people. YouTube makes its revenue from ads. And who are the ones paying for these ads? Large companies. And if large companies release a video that gets nuked with downvotes that everyone can see, that counts as a failure. Video games, movies, politics, they all pay for ads and they all benefit from keeping their dislikes hidden. We already know these companies can influence YouTube. Remember the adpocalypse? When YouTube changed their TOS as well as other things because companies were pulling their ads off the site? Regardless what your views are, politics is probably the biggest factor for the change. The mainstream media hates YouTube and other social media platforms. The mainstream media wants to be able to control the narrative on any situation. But if there are other outlets for information, then they can't do that. Right now, the current sitting president's approval rating is plummeting. Recently, every video that's been uploaded from the White House's YouTube channel has been mass downvoted. You think they wouldn't want to cover up how unpopular they currently are? There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that large companies and brands are the ones who want the dislikes hidden. You know YouTube is doing something sneaky because they are specifically mentioning that they are doing it for the small creators, which is just an attempt to garner sympathy and seem benevolent. This decision harms the user experience, doesn't help small or medium-sized creators, and only benefits the powerful and wealthy. If you want one simple reason to keep the dislike button public, it's transparency. Transparency is always a good thing. Keeping the likes public but the dislikes private is just something a shady business would do.